Hi guys, welcome back to the 12 days of foundation. We are on day number 11. It is almost at the end. Today I'm reviewing the Kevyn Aucoin Foundation Balm. This is a very different formula to anything I've really tried before. If you missed the first 10 days, as always, they will be linked down below along with timestamps if you would like to skip ahead to any part of this review, before and after application, flash photo test, midday check-in. You know the drill by now, but let's go ahead and get started. So the Kevyn Aucoin Foundation Balm launched about, I would say maybe 2 or 3 months ago now. It is matte, it is supposed to be full coverage, it's a cream formula, comes in 20 different shades, and like they say, it is, I guess I would call it a balm. The texture is interesting. It's almost like a pressed mousse in my opinion. I think the packaging is really gorgeous. It reminds me of like the classic Chanel Tan de Soleil, which I've always wanted to try, but it's not unfortunately made for my skin tone. But yeah, this is my first Kevyn Aucoin complexion product. Back in the day, the sensual skin enhancer, those little pots, were something I lusted after nonstop. The amount of times I googled that, trying to figure out my shade, trying to figure out where to buy it, etc. When I lived in Newfoundland, this is like 8 years ago. I never did pull the trigger because it's obviously a very high-end product. This retails for $52 American, 68 Canadian. You are, however, getting 22.3 grams of product, and I can't necessarily compare this to anything else that I own, but I feel like that's a pretty good amount. Although the packaging looks small, always take a look at the actual size that's in there, because packaging can be very, very deceiving. Comes in 20 different shades. Did I mention that already? I have the shade medium FB 10.5, and I gotta say I had some trouble picking out my shade. There's not a lot of reviews online because it's a little bit more of, I guess, a niche product, and I always have trouble finding people who have my skin tone. That's a big part of why I started my channel, is because I couldn't find anybody on YouTube with my skin tone. There wasn't that many, so I wanted to be one of those people to hopefully help people out. So anyways, I got the shade 10.5. It's not a great match. I have not tried to exchange it or hop in store. The store that I go to doesn't actually stock this, so I purchased it online. But I'm going to show you this shade in action today, and hopefully that will help you decide if it's something that's going to be good for you. But yeah, I'm going to actually prime all of my face today and spray it with a kind of, I'll show you. So I don't actually have a ton of experience with this foundation. Similar to yesterday, I have tried this out, but I haven't worn it extensively, but I did want to include it here in the 12 days just because, I don't know, I wanted to review it. So I am going to use the Ole Henriksen Banana Bright Face Primer because I find this is like a nice light hydrator, but then I'm also going to spray my face with the Bobbi Brown Primer Plus Hydrating 3-in-1 Setting Spray. I don't find this really affects the wear that much, but just gives me like a nice kind of base, because I find this product to be a little bit moussey, which is like a texture I don't like, and it just gives me a little bit better of a base to get it moving. So I'm gonna do that and I'll be right back. So when you purchase this, it actually does come with its own little brush, which is cute. It's like a nice little buffing brush. So I'm gonna use this on this half of my face, and right off the bat, the thing I noticed about this foundation was it looked really gray, both on my skin and especially when I swatched it next to other foundations. And that seems to be a complaint on the Sephora website as well, as a lot of people said it's gray, because on the Kevyn Aucoin, like on their description, they're talking about how they added new shades, etc., which is great, but we've talked about this before, and that when you're adding new shades, they can't just, like, I'm not saying that they didn't research it, but sometimes with like deeper shades, there's not as much effort put in to adding the shades. They're like in a rush to get the shades added kind of thing. So it definitely has kind of gray vibes, which is unfortunate. But it's a bizarre foundation. Like, it feels like I'm not blending it. It feels like that, like, I don't love this brush. It's just really hard because I didn't want to put much product on my face because I don't love the texture. Maybe I didn't prime my face well enough. But I think you can see it's definitely quite matte. Like, my face is quite sheeny over here, shiny, sheeny, and then over here it's quite a bit more matte, especially when you compare it to like some of the other foundations that we spoke about this week that said they were matte from brands that do like very glowy stuff. So I'm actually going to pick up some on a sponge and go sponge over here and just see what that looks like. It's a damp sponge. I think that's better. It's just like such a thick product that I feel like you need to start with a very little bit and blend it out. Like, your face cannot be dry when this goes on, in my opinion. This also doesn't say it's for dry skin, it's for combo normal and oily, which definitely makes sense to me. It says it's formulated with hyaluronic acid, avocado oil, and vitamin E, I think, yeah. So those are all good things. I'm gonna pick up just a little bit more product, because the more I build it up, the more the shade match will be obvious. I have like a warm bronzer I'm gonna put on today. It's not bad, like it's a pretty good shade match, but it's not amazing either. So I definitely didn't build this up to full coverage, because I feel like even at this level of coverage, it's already starting to look heavy on my skin, because it has this like pressed cream mousse texture, which is like blech, my least favorite. I really hate anything moussey, even though moussey things were always recommended for oily skin. Whenever I try them, they're horrible. Even now that I'm combo, I still hate them when I was super oily. It's like mousses never really like sit on your skin, or they sit on your skin too much. They don't ever like meld into your skin properly. So, but this is definitely like, if you have normal skin, you probably wouldn't need to set this down. I'm still gonna put a powder down, just because that's my preference, but it definitely does dry down to quite a matte finish. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the rest of my makeup. I will take some flash photos and I'll be right back. Okay, so all of my makeup is on now and not loving it. Definitely sitting on my skin. I feel like any texture that I have is enhanced. It almost like it like clings to any peach fuzz on your face, pores, etc. It just doesn't look that great. I don't know if you can tell on camera, I tried to get up a little bit close to do a close-up, and like obviously I'm not looking for something to like completely smooth out my texture and like, you know, whatever, but you know, this is day 11 and all of the foundations that I've reviewed prior to this have looked better than this up close. Like I feel like even my concealer looks like more creasy and stuff. Like everything kind of else looks okay and went on my face fine, but it just, no, it just doesn't look good, especially for this price tag. So I did want to say though, two things that I love from the brand. The first is something kind of newer to me that I picked up during one of the Sephora sales. It's the Glass Glow Face Illuminator, and I am wearing this today. I put on an Essence highlighter over it just to balance out the price tag of everything that's on my face, but it's really, really beautiful natural highlighter. Again, high end, but you get a ton of product in here, so if you do end up like using it on your face every day, it'll last a very long time. But even this, I felt like didn't play that well with this formula. I felt like putting something so creamy and like kind of liquidy on my face almost felt like I was gonna lift up the product, which I didn't love, but I really liked the look that this gave because it brought a little bit of life to my face. I feel like it just looked really flat. And if you've been following the saga of the Kevyn Aucoin sculpting powder, this is my all-time favorite sculpting powder. Like if I could only have one powder to like actually contour my face with, this would be it. This is number 3. Okay, this is the third one that I've purchased. I'm a clown. I'm a clown. He played me. Kevyn is playing the shit out of me, but it's really good. I've got an entire review on it, which I will link to down below. It's just got beautiful texture, super buildable, perfect for actually contouring. If you have my skin tone, it's not too gray, it's not too warm, really beautiful texture. And like I didn't even drop this, but I felt like no matter what I did to put it back together, alcohol, saline, etc., it just never went back to its original form, and I kept it in its little velvet pouch, etc. Anyways, here we are again, round 3. I did not wear it today just because I did not feel like actually contouring, but I did want to point that out. As always, everything that I'm wearing on my face too will be listed down below. For photos, I thought it looked okay here in my lighting, but like I've said before, it's hard for much to look bad in this kind of lighting in terms of photos. And then in flash photos, it kind of performed how I expected it to because it has that kind of gray cast to it. You definitely picked up on that in the photos. Like for example, the CoverGirl foundation that I reviewed the day before yesterday, I thought looked incredible in flash photo. The MAC yesterday, like you go out and buy the 2 of those with money left over instead of buying this one. We can kind of see where this review is going, but anyway, we haven't had any real duds throughout the 12 days so far, so I'm laying it on a little bit thick today. But anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and wear this for a few more hours and I will check back with you in some natural light. So I'm checking in some natural light. It's like pitch black out today. Can you not? Just standing there. This is just standing off to the side. But things actually look better now that my natural oils have started to come through. I really did not like the way that this looked initially, but I was filming something right after and I thought it actually looked quite good on camera, surprisingly. And now that my natural oils have started to come through, it definitely looks better. So I would say make sure you have a good base down, because I feel like maybe that's why it looked like so dry and cakey on my skin. It still feels a little bit heavy, but definitely looks way better than it did. Like it's kind of melded into my skin more before it was really sitting on top, and now it's starting to look more natural and more kind of one with the skin. So I'm gonna go ahead and wear this for a few more hours and I will check back with you tonight. All right, I am back. It is the end of the day and I'm super excited to remove this foundation. It's not that it's like horrifically bad, but I've tried a lot of really great foundations over the past 10-11 days, and this definitely is not one of them, but it's definitely one of the most expensive. And I've talked about this before, but I love makeup in general. I don't care if it's high-end, luxury, drugstore, dollar store, homemade. I love products. So I understand that some brands are gonna have a higher price tag based on the name attached to it, based on the packaging, based on where it's made, etc. So to me, when I buy high-end foundation, yes, I want it to be amazing, but do I expect it to like blow me out of the water because it costs $50 or $60? No, like I expect every foundation to be good no matter the price tag. But this is a high-end foundation, and the fact that it performs, in my opinion, not well at all, is definitely not worth you spending your money on. Let me say another caveat to that though. If you're curious to try it, of course, maybe you can get a sample, etc. I have not seen any reviews on this. I'm curious to know what other people think about it, but I did not like the way this looked when it went on. I did not like the way that this wore throughout the day, and I don't like the way that it looks at the end of the day. It actually started to look better as my oil started coming through, like I mentioned earlier, and I feel like if you prime your skin really well, give it a good base to kind of blend it into, but it just feels kind of heavy on my skin. The shade match actually got a little bit better, like looks less gray. Sorry, I'm just looking at myself in the mirror here. I'm a little bit shiny, which is fine. I mean, it hasn't patched off. It doesn't look like patchy or anything like that, but it definitely feels more heavy. I feel like if you have texture, fine lines, if you find like foundations tend to settle in any of the lines on your face, I feel like this is going to do that. And I didn't get it to full coverage. It claims to be full coverage, but I feel like I would have needed to put too much on my face to get full coverage, and it already started to feel heavy with the amount of coverage that I had. So this one was definitely a bit of a letdown. We cannot win them all, but if you have tried this, let me know. I know a lot of you were really curious about it. I don't know if it was because you had tried it and liked it and you wanted to know what I thought, or if you were just curious to check it out because it's an interesting texture. But for me, like right off the bat, as soon as I could feel that moussiness, I knew it was not going to go down, and that's very much a personal preference. So if you tend to like mousse foundations, maybe this will be more something that's your jam. Moussey foundations, kind of cream foundations, I don't know, they just never tend to work for me. They always sit on my skin so heavy. So yeah, this one is not it. If you're looking for a Kevyn Aucoin product, in my opinion, the sculpting powder is top notch. I love the liquid highlighter, but the foundation balm is not a hit for me, unfortunately. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at SamanthaJNYT, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.